of the New Democratic Party.
Mr. Speaker, addressing the spread of COVID-19, Dr. Strang, Chief Medical Officer, said recently that one of the best things people can do to protect themselves is, he said, to stay home when you're sick. Now, many people in Nova Scotia don't stay home from work when they're sick, not because they don't want to follow Dr. Strang's advice, but because if they don't work, they don't get paid. Mr. Speaker, this is a situation with a simple remedy: paid sick days for all employees in Nova Scotia. As a public health protection, does the Premier agree with me that paid sick days should be immediately introduced?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As he would know, Mr. Speaker, many private companies across this province continue to provide support. Those things are negotiated at the bargaining table with their employer. He would also know, Mr. Speaker, there are many self-employed people in the province who want to be self-employed, continue to grow their business, make decisions for that business. I don't believe it should be government that imposes that. As someone in this House, Mr. Speaker, and I join with him in supporting the collective bargaining process in Nova Scotia, I'll let the employers and their representatives come to the determination of what benefits they want.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Mr. Speaker, the World Health Organization has changed its assessment of the risk of COVID-19 infection from high to very high. And when it strikes, according to the WHO, containment is going to be very challenging, and it's rather going to be a situation of management. In other words, people who are sick need to be able to stay at home. Now, one way we could help would be to stop patients from having to make unnecessary trips to the doctor for the sole reason that their employer requires a doctor's sick note. Will the Premier agree, given the dangerously contagious nature of this infection, that the government should end employers requiring sick notes from employees?
The Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with the honourable member. I don't think it should just be for this. I think we need to have a serious look at whether or not, regardless of whether it is the current virus or other ailments that happen, I think we need to have a look at whether or not we should be asking our employees to go get a sick note.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
I thank the Premier for that thoughtful answer, and I want to tell him about a woman named Caitlin Robinson. Caitlin lives in Eastern Passage, and she was off work with pneumonia. And she went to the doctor and waited 3 hours in the waiting room and got a sick note, then went to work and gave it to the employer. The employer said if she missed more than 4 days, she would be written up, and so she went back to work while she still had pneumonia. So what is the Premier currently concretely doing to make sure people in Nova Scotia are able to stay home, as all health authorities are recommending, stay home when they're sick?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as again I said in the second question that you asked me, I agree with the honourable member. We need to have a serious look at what the adjustment looks like when it comes to requiring a medical note, or if they need one at all. I think, and as a government, we're looking at that with our own employees across government. I don't know the particular employer that he's referring to or the employee mentioned by name, but there's always the Labour Board, Mr. Speaker, supports around for workers in our province. But I think all Nova Scotians would agree, Mr. Speaker, that when someone is ill, they should have the right and the ability to stay home.